Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Today we are looking at the money trail from the dark rooms of Langley to the ivy-covered halls of America's greatest universities. The setting is a mahogany row boardroom at a top-tier medical school in 1954. On the table sits a check for $250,000, a fortune at the time. The name on the check is the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology. To the university, it looks like a gift from a high-minded group of philanthropists interested in the complexities of human nature. In reality, every cent came from the CIA's clandestine MK-Ultra budget. The agency wasn't just funding science, they were purchasing the credibility of the world's most brilliant minds to mask a program of systematic behavioral control. This is the story of the Human Ecology Fund. How did this financial ghost get its name? The organization was originally founded as the Society for the Investigation of Human Ecology. The term human ecology was chosen specifically because it was a broad, academic-sounding umbrella that could encompass anything from sociology and anthropology to biology and, of course, psychiatry. By using the word ecology, the agency could fund experiments into how humans react to their environments, whether that environment was a classroom or a sensory deprivation tank, without raising eyebrows among the university bursars. The fund was the agency's golden ticket into the hearts and minds of the academic elite. The Human Ecology Fund was led by Dr. Harold Wolff of Cornell University, a world-renowned neurologist who was secretly an agency consultant. A quote from a declassified 1955 MK-Ultra memorandum. The society serves as a cutout to provide funds for research, which the agency desires to sponsor, but which it does not wish to be identified with. End quote. Through the fund, the CIA financed the work of over 150 researchers at more than 30 prestigious institutions, including but not limited to Harvard, Stanford, and of course, MIT. A quote from the declassified 1963 project evaluation. The fund has successfully established a bridge between the academic community and the operational needs of the intelligence community. One of the most famous grants involved research into interpersonal influence, which was actually a code for the study of how to break a person's will during interrogation. A quote from a declassified 1957 annual report of the Society. Our primary objective remains the support of investigations into the nature of marked behavioral change and the conditions under which it occurs. End quote. The fund provided a grant to Dr. D. Ewan Cameron at McGill University, shielding the CIA from direct liability for his personality-wiping experiments. Records show that the fund paid for a study on the effects of LSD on group dynamics, providing the agency with data on how to use psychedelics to disrupt foreign political meetings. A quote from a declassified 1961 financial audit. The administrative costs are negligible. The primary expenditure is the direct purchase of academic cooperation. End quote. The fund was so well disguised that many professors who received money, such as renowned psychologist Carl Rogers, truly believed they were working for a legitimate humanitarian organization. In 1965, the fund was officially dissolved after the agency transferred its projects to other outlets to avoid the heat of public scrutiny. A quote from the 1976 Church Committee report. The use of the Human Ecology Fund effectively subverted the integrity of the American academic system. End quote. The fund's headquarters was a modest office in Forest Hills, New York, staffed by people who handled the checks but never saw the results of the experiments. The CIA utilized the fund to publish a journal titled Human Ecology, which was used to disseminate agency-approved psychological theories back into the mainstream scientific community. Technical logs show that the fund's vetting process for researchers was actually a secret security clearance background check performed by the agency. By the time the fund was dissolved, it had essentially mapped the entire field of social psychology for the U.S. government. But even with the declassification, the ledger has some black holes. For instance, the section titled The Institutional Legacy Audit contains more redactions than any other financial file in the archive, specifically the section on endowment infiltration, which is completely blacked out. Over 1,800 pages of current operational fronts are missing as well. Why is the agency hiding where the money is flowing in 2026? Get ready for the theory of the academic anchor. Speculation suggests the curriculum is still being steered by the invisible hand of the fund. This theory claims the redactions in the syllabus control logs hide the fact that the CIA actually owns the voting shares of several Ivy League boards, and that the 1,800 pages detail modern professors who are on a secret agency payroll to normalize state surveillance in their lectures. Some imagine the 1,800 redacted pages have to do with an alumni network file that's hidden, which hides a shadow government. This theory argues the fund didn't die, it just changed its name, and every student who receives a certain federal grant is unknowingly being tracked as a potential sleeper agent for the next decade. Theorists looking at the blacked out sections argue the agency has used the funds of the 2026 successor to delete any academic research that proved the existence of mind control, effectively making the truth uncitable in modern science. Gossip suggests the black bars have to do with artificial intelligence grants, and that they hide the fact that the fund is now financing the algorithms that grade your children's papers, using data to identify the quiet and rebellious thinkers before they even graduate. Some rumors say that offshore academic accounts are hidden in the redactions, and they hide the evidence that the CIA is funding private universities to this day that don't even exist on a map, used only to manufacture degrees for deep cover operatives. Some believe the 1,800 redacted pages hide a frequency-based education tool using digital textbooks to transmit subsonic pulses that make students more agreeable to the history being taught to them. Speculation persists that the redactions in the student medical records section prove the fund is still paying for mandatory vaccines on campuses that are actually chemical delivery systems for new behavior modification drugs. Fringe gossip argues the redacted sections describe an AI-driven professor who teaches thousands of students online, but is actually an agency-programmed bot designed to harvest the political opinions of the youth. Whispers suggest that the campus architecture redactions hide blueprints for student housing that use the building's own structural vibrations as a massive microphone to record every student's whispered secret. A wild theory claims the missing 1,800 pages describe a new language project where the fund is paying linguists to slowly remove words like freedom and privacy from dictionaries. Conspiracy enthusiasts argue that the postgraduate placement redactions hide the fact that the fund guarantees high-paying jobs to students who agree to have a neural link installed for performance enhancement in 2026. And lastly, rumors suggest the redactions are so heavy because they prove the fund has successfully replaced the human intuition of admissions officers with an AI that specifically screens out any child with an IQ high enough to question the state. Was the Human Ecology Fund a success? Tactically, it was a financial triumph. The agency spent a few $1,000,000 and bought the intellectual soul of the 1950s. They gained access to the world's best labs and used university prestige to launder their darkest ideas. Strategically, it was a long-term poison. When the truth came out, it shattered the trust between the public and academia. However, as the declassification suggests, the infrastructure built by the fund was so effective that it likely never stopped. It just went deeper into the dark. As far as technological and operational breakthroughs go, the scholarship of shadows created breakthroughs in the way the state manages the mind. For instance, academic front methodology, perfecting the cutout system to use legitimate institutions for covert research. Mainstream laundering, the ability to insert agency-approved psychological theories into peer-reviewed journals. Behavioral mapping, the first large-scale database of how normal non-criminal populations react to social pressure. And financial cloaking, creating shell organizations that can pass high-level university audits without detection. The Human Ecology Fund reminds us that knowledge isn't always power. Sometimes it's a leash. As the files reveal, when you read a textbook, you might just be reading an agency script. Thanks for listening, and join us next time as we examine Project Genealogy. In the late 1960s, the agency turned to graphology, that's the fancy word for handwriting analysis. They believed they could map the mental state and future actions of world leaders just by looking at their signatures. We'll uncover the handwriting profiles, the ink analysis manifest, and the moment the world realized that the fate of nations was decided by the loops of a fountain pen. Join us next time for the ink-stained oracle. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.